This is the World Financial Report podcast. My name is Randy Marshall. Joining us is our financial and diamond expert, Harold Siegel. We're taping on October the 11th, 2018. Our time is 8:05 Mountain. Connect with Harold at rarecoloreddiamonds.com or 1-800-432-1022. Get the companion to the podcast, our free weekly newsletter. You'll see all the stories that Harold and I are talking about. Get it from Harold, 1-800-432-1022, rarecoloreddiamonds.com. As we start today, we hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving here in Canada and Columbus Day in the United States last weekend. US dollar 95.21, Canadian dollar 76.62, the euro at 1.15, the pound at 1.32, gold at 12.0580, silver 14.41, gold-silver ratio 83.65, platinum 820, palladium is 1,075, WTI $72, Brent 81.61, nat gas 3.19, Bitcoin in US dollars 62.1031, Bitcoin in Canadian 81.0399. Now yesterday there were some major pullbacks in the stock markets of the world. The Dow was down 800, TSX was down 336. The Dow, as we start today, 25,466, S&P 2,785, NASDAQ at 7383, and the TSX at 15,517. And to give you an update as to where things are standing, and this is at 8:08 Mountain on Thursday, October 11th, the S&P TSX is down 79, Dow Jones up about 30, S&P 500 is up 2.55, NASDAQ is up 17.71. Donald Trump was very upset about the pullback in the stock market because he really touts the stock market as showing the success that he's having as a president. In fact, he went on to say, I think the Fed is making a mistake. They're so tight. I think the Fed has gone crazy. Trump told reporters yesterday when asked if he was concerned about the stock market rout, he ramped up the rhetoric later in the day, saying the Fed is going wild. He told Fox News in a phone interview, the Fed is going loco and there's no reason for them to do it. I'm not happy about it. So Donald Trump making it known what he thinks about the stock market being pulled back. He's talked about the Fed raising interest rates. He knows that as they raise interest rates, easy money is going away. That does hurt the stock market. And as he's trying to get reelected in a few years, he wants a strong economy, not a weak economy. And Harold, he's making it known right now he is not happy.
He may not be happy, but he's looking at things one-dimensional. Obviously, the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates because there's a fear of inflation. And if you don't raise interest rates during times of inflation, then it's going to affect the economy in an even bigger way. So he's too short-sighted in this sense. Fact is that Canada's going to have to raise interest rates again too. So if there's inflation, which there is, oil prices are higher, food costs are higher, standard of living is higher, rent is higher, all that type of thing. They have to raise interest rates. And one of the things about raising interest rates is that your dollar strengthens. So one of the reasons that the Dow fell 830 points on Wednesday, they were saying was because interest rates are going up to fight off inflation. But it's got to be way more than that. It's got to be the situation in China with the tariffs that the U.S. is putting on China. That, to me, is the biggest obstacle. And that's one situation that could really blow up. So, again, I don't have a problem with the Fed raising interest rates to fight inflation. U.S. dollar is going to strengthen, but the U.S. dollar is not where it should be. U.S. dollar should be a lot stronger than it is at this point. U.S. dollar is trading right now at 95.22. But don't forget, when Trump came into office, the U.S. dollar was trading at 103. So 8 cents higher than it is at this point. And 8 cents in the U.S. dollar market is a huge big deal. So fact is, the dollar still has a ways to go. However, the U.S. dollar is down 25 points today, which is a quarter of a penny, and gold is up 12.80. So we broke back above the 1,200 level. We're trading at 1208.20 in gold. Silver's up 18, so we're trading at 1455. Last week we talked about whether palladium could possibly even pass gold. Well, that's a strong possibility. Platinum, by the way, which has always been more expensive than palladium, is actually $250 cheaper. Platinum is than palladium. So platinum's trading at $828, and palladium is trading at $1,090. The crazy thing is that palladium went from 180 all the way up to well over 1,000 that it's at right now. The reason that it went up that much was because it was cheaper than platinum, and they were both used in catalytic converters. So a platinum at 12 or 1300 is needed for catalytic converters, but palladium does the same job at 2 or 300. Obviously, the car manufacturers are going to start to buy palladium. Well, now palladium is $260 higher than the price of platinum. So is that going to reverse? Is platinum going to start to rally and palladium start to fall off as there's a huge price difference between the two metals? So we'll have to see on that. We're not trading heavily in those markets at this time. The gold market, we're waiting to see what happens. If the US dollar strengthens, gold is going to fall further. We've seen gold go from 1380 down to 1050, back up to 1360, back down to 1180 that it was at last week. So I don't see the US dollar falling apart unless something substantial happens between China and the United States. And that is a possibility. I mean, the fact is that the tariffs that the US are putting on China is really prohibiting major US corporations from doing business with China. That's where I see the big problem, not with inflation and raising interest rates. Even though raising interest rates makes carrying that massive debt that the United States have much more expensive, the fact is that if U.S. corporations that deal with China are all of a sudden having business problems and their business is deteriorating, that to me is a bigger problem than a rise in interest rates.
And Harold is right. Bloomberg was reporting this morning. This sell-off seems to have many fathers. Among the catalysts, continuing trade war between the United States and China, falling margins and reduced profits for U.S. corporations, and the end of central bank accommodative policies. We have not forgotten about the major storm in the United States, Michael, slamming into Georgia with fierce winds, torrential rains, hours after making landfall and making history as one of the most powerful U.S. hurricanes on record. Hurricane Michael was still a serious threat as it moved across southern Georgia on Wednesday night. Michael was about 20 miles southwest of Albany, Georgia, with Category 1 sustained winds of 90 miles per hour. Michael entered the state's southwest corner as a Category 3 storm, making it the first major hurricane in Georgia since, this is a crazy number, 1898, if you can believe it. Michael left a trail of destruction in its wake across the central Florida panhandle, especially along and near the coastal stretch of Panama City to Apalachicola. One death has been reported as of Wednesday evening. Mexico Beach, which encountered the worst of Michael's dangerous right-hand side eye wall, appears to have particularly been hit hard, as was Tyndall Air Force Base, which reported extensive damage in a Facebook post. And obviously go online to keep yourself updated with Michael. On Drudge, welcome to Florida. What a mess. And they're showing pictures of the devastation. It is stunning, the pictures that they're showing, the devastation, and thoughts and prayers go out to those people that are affected, because it can just wipe away your life in mere seconds.
Been through it before. I know what they're going through. I feel horrible for them, but this was the biggest storm to hit the United States since Andrews, which was in 1993, which was a year that I moved into my home here in Florida. So absolutely horrible storm. Obviously, being in Florida, saw every bit of it on television. And as you said, Randy, our hearts go out to everybody that was affected by this horrible storm. Just Mother Nature can just absolutely wreak havoc on you. And it just seems to be getting worse and worse and worse every year. North Carolina got hit last month, and now the storm slams into the panhandle, goes through Georgia, and hits that same area again, but from a different direction. So just absolutely insane. And that's going to be a very costly hurricane also, because the flooding and the sheer amount of damage is just astronomical.
Thankfully, Harold, you and your family where you live, you are okay, and we're very, very thankful for that.
Well, thank you very much. Had a lot of calls and emails from clients and friends in Canada. Thank you very, very much for that. It seems that that's been happening a lot lately. Last summer, we got hit with a hurricane here in South Florida. I was in Colorado at the time, but when I came home to a fair amount of destruction. Then, February the 14th, I live in Parkland, Florida, where the school shootings were 2 blocks from my home. And then this summer in Colorado, where I live, we had fires right across the road from our home. So just been a crazy year for natural disasters type of thing. And let's hope they stop.
I agree. Enough is enough. We talked on the last podcast about General Electric stock, Sears, and Ford. And here's an update on Sears. The long goodbye for America's most iconic retailer inches closer to an end. Looks like it might culminate this weekend. Sears Holding Corp., the struggling U.S. chain owned by hedge fund manager Eddie Lampert, is preparing for bankruptcy. And they're saying that Sunday seems to be the day. According to a person familiar with the plan, the company faces a critical debt maturity next week. The plan to file for Chapter 11 protection is a defeat for Lampert, whose fund, ESL Investments, is the retailer's biggest equity holder and a major debt holder. But it looks like this weekend, Sears will go bankrupt in the United States and try to reorganize. Here in Canada, they just went out of business. Mattress Firm, the largest U.S. mattress retailer, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. They expect to restructure within 45 to 60 days. It has already filed court motions for approval to reject up to 700 leases and will begin to close roughly 200 stores in the next few days. They're talking about possibly closing 800 stores in total. It has secured about $250 million in so-called debtor-in-possession financing to support its operations under bankruptcy. But Harold, there you have it. We talked about General Electric, an iconic brand for so many years, being in trouble. Ford, their stock being down. Sears, a penny stock. This weekend, it looks like they will be going into bankruptcy protection.
Unbelievable. And it seems like it's a sign of the times. And again, a lot of it is attributed to the phenomenon known as Amazon. So it's very, very sad to see Sears going out of business. I mean, they've been an institution for, forever. And Macy's and these major department stores just don't do well. Now, I don't know per se if their online business makes up for the lack of walk-in traffic, but let's face it, their biggest expense is running those massive stores. So it looks like the retail business is definitely changing. A lot will change, as we move forward. And the biggest example of that is obviously what Amazon is doing to the retail business.
Connect with Harold at rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Rarecoloreddiamonds.com, 1-800-432-1022. Get the companion to the podcast, our free weekly newsletter. We'll be happy to send it out to you weekly via email, free of charge. You can go through it in minutes and be completely up to date. In the newsletter, we have a section on gold, silver, and palladium this week. Greg Hunter interviewed John Williams of Shadow Stats, and he said the Fed is killing the economy. John Williams has long said that this money printing orgy by the Fed will end in a hyperinflationary event. Williams said, unfortunately, it's unavoidable. It's only a matter of when. It can only be avoided if the United States can get its long-term financial house in order. We all know that is not going to happen, Williams says. As they keep going here, there is going to be hyperinflation. The dollar will weaken, gold and silver will rally, and there will be part of a self-feeding cycle, which will get you into very high inflation. If the Fed can't get this banking crisis worked out, and they're talking about lending, I would not be surprised to see a complete overhaul of the system. But John Williams of Shadow Stats, you can see that interview in our our free weekly newsletter with Greg Hunter. King World News coming out and interviewing Rick Rule of Sprott USA. He's saying the gold bull market is close to ensuing. I think gold market, it's pretty healthy. He says that if you own gold in any currency other than the US dollar in the last 18 months, it's been good for you. But the US dollar has been very strong and gold is held in, despite what has been a very strong market for the US 10-year Treasury. So I think gold has done an extremely good job, considering we've been in a 35-year bull market in the dollar and a 35-year bull market in the US 10-year Treasury. So my suspicion is that the Treasury bull market and the dollar bull market are either at the top or very close to the top. And if I'm right, the gold bull market is probably in the process of ensuing again. Gold has gotten a little push lately due to what's happening in Italy. They're worried about a banking crisis in Italy. So you always want that insurance policy in your portfolio of hard assets, gold, silver, diamonds. You never get rid of your insurance policy because you never know what could happen in the world financially, another financial crisis, nothing has really changed, or even geopolitically. Very interesting that John Williams is saying positive things about gold, and so is Rick Rule, Harold.
Yeah, it surprises me, to be honest with you, because we have not been. Did he say that we were in a 30-year bull market in the dollar?
35, yep, 35 year.
So then I guess they don't remember that in 2000, when we recommended gold was at 250, but the US dollar was at 105 or 106, highest price basically it ever hit. It went all the way down to 72 cents by 2011. So how in the world are we in a 35-year bull market in the US dollar when it dropped from 105 or 106 all the way down to 72 cents and spurred the largest bull market in history in precious metals? In fact, one of the biggest bull markets in history of any commodity or stock. So I don't agree with what he's saying in that sense because we did have that 11-year period where the dollar absolutely sank. And that's when gold made its move from 250 to 1900. So again, I don't agree with what he's saying. Rick Rule, isn't he in with
Sprott Asset Management, John Embry, and
so they have to
Eric
remain
Sprott.
positive on gold, obviously, for business sake and the sake of their clients type of thing. But the fact is that gold is not in a bull market right now. Gold is in a sideways pattern. It's trading sideways between 1180 and 1210 or 1220. So the fact is that in order for gold to make a big move, the US dollar has got to come crashing down, or some huge geopolitical situation that's going to affect the world financial markets, for quite a long time. So unless it's something substantial, they're not going to let gold run. They're not going to let gold run back up to 1900 unless something happens. And in my estimation, it has to start with the dollar. And I just don't see the dollar at this point here falling off. I don't see how gold can rally and make any significant moves on the upside with a strong US dollar. In fact, the only time that gold has been strong at the same time as the US dollar was strong was right when gold hit 9 or 850 in 1980. And right after that, when gold fell, it was because the dollar started to rally. So the fact is that gold dropped from 850 all the way back down, and the US dollar started to run. But don't forget, during that particular time, interest rates went to 22%, which strengthened the US dollar, which pushed gold, all the way down to those lower levels. So, I understand why they're saying what they're saying, because they're in the gold business and they need to keep their clients happy. But I'm saying that the reason own gold is because of the debt and the geopolitical situations that could blow up and make gold rally on a short-term basis. If we're ever going to get another long-term rally in gold, it's got to be based on what the dollar is going to do, and it would have to be that the dollar is going to come down. Now, is that possible with a president like Trump? Of course it is. He just doesn't understand what's going on in every sense. In some cases, he's doing a bang-up job. In other cases, like what happened today, when he's talking that the Federal Reserve is doing a lousy job by raising interest rates, They're not doing a lousy job. They're doing what they have to be doing. And that strengthens the dollar. But, Trump doesn't necessarily want a strong dollar, but I don't think that there's any way around that at this point. So, again, the only way that I see gold rallying is if the dollar drops substantially for a long time, or a massive geopolitical situation that happened similar to 2008 when we saw the mortgage crisis happen. And that could happen because there are derivatives out there that are in the quadrillions of dollars that could affect the market in a huge way, especially if the interest rate markets go south. So we'll have to see what happens. But if everything was to sit the way they are right now, we're going to be in a sideways pattern in gold until something happens with the dollar.
Speak with Harold about blockchain. Also, rare colored diamonds. His website, rarecoloreddiamonds.com, 1-800-432-1022. We really believe there is an opportunity in pink diamonds from the Argyle mine in Western Australia. Their pink diamond tender ended on the 10th of October, so that was just yesterday. The bids are in, and in a short period of time, we will know how the Argyle tender went. From a past podcast, Christie's preparing to sell the largest fancy vivid pink diamond in its history. In November, Christie's Geneva will present the largest and finest fancy vivid pink diamond ever offered at auction by the company, weighing just under 19 carats, 18.96 carats. The Pink Legacy will go under the hammer on November 13th, offering jewelry enthusiasts the chance to purchase an exceptional rectangular cut gem. Now, they believe the estimate on it at this point is $30 to $50 million. In our newsletter this week, we have fresh news. Ella Rosa extracts a rare, fancy, intense yellow diamond. It is a 28.59 carat rough yellow diamond. It came from a deposit in Russia. The reason we mention it is it's so rare that they find these big yellow diamonds. So at this point, what they'll do, they'll spend time taking a look at the diamond, examining it, and seeing exactly how it will be cut. Other articles of note: what color is the most expensive diamond in the world? In the world of fancy colored diamonds, red, blue, pink, and yellow are preferred choices for investment. They go on to talk about green diamonds. And Harold, we have another article that came out of the Far East. Will green diamonds become a Chinese investor's best friend? Chow Tai Fook Jewelry paid the most ever for a green diamond, US dollar $16.8 million. That was a 5-carat fancy vivid aurora green, and that went for $3.3 million a carat at Christie's auction in May of 2016. They're saying in this article that green diamonds, China are starting to look at them as a very good investment idea. And I know you've always talked about green diamonds and what a great investment idea they are.
I think greens are going to be the next blues. So they're extremely rare. And I think going to turn out to be a phenomenal investment. In fact, for all our listeners out there, we will be starting to use our blockchain in combination with our auction site by the second week of November. And we've had tremendous increases in our client listing from people all over the world that want to actually go into shared ownership of diamonds using our blockchain. So we're very, very excited to announce that in November, by about the second week of November, we will be starting to hold auctions again in combination with our blockchain, and we are very, very excited about the potential outcome of this new marketing way that we're going to be marketing. It's shared ownership of diamonds. Now, when I say shared ownership, for example, if we put up a $20,000 diamond for sale, let's say, for example, a client has a diamond that they want to sell, and the price it's worth right now is around $20,000. What we're going to do is we're going to put the price at $20,000, and then we're going to offer it on our blockchain / auction site, and either one person will buy it, or 5 people, or 10 people, or whatever. With our smart contracts, it now means that people can invest in higher price items like diamonds, classic cars, art, things like that. And if you're only buying them for investment purposes and don't need to take delivery of them, which which is a phenomenal thing. That means that you can now invest in diamonds with a group of people, and you get your percentage of what that diamond sells for. So let's use an example of a $20,000 yellow flawless. Let's say, for example, we put that on the auction blockchain, and we sell that diamond for 20,000. Let's say one person puts in 10,000 and two people put in 5,000 apiece. So now that diamond is owned by three people. The person that put in, the 10,000, when we resell that diamond 5 years later, let's say they double their money, he'll get 50%, and the other two will get the 25%. So I think it's an amazing system. We're very, very excited about it. We've been working diligently to get this done, and it looks like the second week of November is when our first ones are going to start. So clients that are interested in selling diamonds using our blockchain, that will be available for you. And you can contact myself or Jonathan, and we will make arrangements to ship your diamonds here to Florida and put them up on our auction / blockchain. And we're very confident that these are going to be very, very successful. So this is what we're doing. It's now about to start, and it looks like the second week of November is the actual starting date that our auctions are going to start. So very, very excited about it, Randy.
No, it does sound incredible, Harold. Learn more about blockchain and colored diamonds. Speak with Harold at 1-800-432-1022, rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Get the companion to our podcast, the free weekly newsletter. One other article I wanted to mention, investing in colored diamonds. Nowadays, colored diamonds offer a strong return on investment. Read that article as we get down to the end of the podcast. A major U.S. telecommunications company discovered manipulated hardware from Supermicro Computer in its network and removed it in August. Fresh evidence of tampering in China of critical technology components bound for the United States, according to a security expert working for the telecom company. China is putting parts inside equipment that's being sent to North America so they can spy on us. Civilian drones pose a steadily escalating threat as devices are likely to be used in terrorist criminal groups or drug cartels to carry out attacks in the United States, according to FBI Director Christopher Wray. He told a Senate committee, terrorist groups could easily export their battlefield experience to use weaponized drones. Harold, we're in a real different world now. We always have to be on guard. That's the concern about Russian hackers, maybe turning off the power grid or our water. And here you have China doing things in a very sneaky way to spy on us in North America. And then we have the threat of drones. A friend of mine had one of the very first drones in Edmonton. They're interesting, they're fun, used in the proper way, but if they're not, they can be deadly. Harold, it's a very interesting time that we live in.
You better believe it. When a country like China is filming and taping every single person that's walking around, they're going to have close to 1 million very high-end cameras, very sensitive. Certain words will enact it, the taping part of it. Say anything bad about the government, you'll be on a grading system. They're basically talking about putting people on a grading system that if you're a positive person, you talk well about the government, you pay your bills on time and all that, you'll get a very high rating, like a good credit rating. However, you say anything negative about the government, or you're a negative person, or your affairs are not in order, you're going to find that you may not be able to travel outside of China. They're talking about cutting people off from flying and taking trains type of thing. Your credit rating could be affected by it. The school that your children go to can be affected by it. So again, this is a changing world. We see it almost every day. Who would have ever thought that a company like Amazon would put major retailers out of business? Things are happening so quickly in this new world that we live in. Who would think that blockchains could change the way that we buy and invest in almost everything? We're going to be able to sell physical bars of gold on a blockchain, meaning that if you don't have $1,200 to buy a kilo of gold or an ounce of gold, You could buy it with a bunch of other investors. So the whole investment world is changing right in front of our eyes. It's a very exciting thing. You need to be open-minded, and you need to be able to, understand it so you can get involved in it. And it's something that we put a lot of money into and a lot of time. And over a year ago, when we started learning about blockchain, is when we started investing into it and starting to build our own. Now we have our own blockchain. We're one of the only firms in the world that owns our own auction companies. And we're picking up new clients from all over the world that will actually be able to attend our blockchain auctions. So it's really a phenomenal situation to see this all coming to fruition. It's something I'm very, very proud of. And again, any clients out there that are looking to sell their diamonds that they purchased through us are now able to do that. You can contact Jonathan or myself, and we'll give you instructions how to send your diamonds down, get them filmed, and let's get the ball rolling with our new marketing procedure, which we're very excited about.
Speak with Harold about that at 1-800-432-1022, the website rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Ask about blockchain, also Argyle Pink Diamonds. We talked about the Toronto Maple Leafs. I predicted on a podcast a while back they were going to win the Stanley Cup, rather brazenly, since I'm an Oiler fan. And then EA Sports came out and after a simulation predicted that they would win the Stanley Cup. They're off to a great start. They're 3-1. Austin Matthews and John Tavares, Mitch Marner, they're all on fire at this point. They are looking outstanding. So the prediction at this point is looking good, don't you think?
I think you are a genius, to be honest with you, Rand. Very, very happy to see how Tavares has come in and really solidified that team. So I think we have a superstar in Matthews. And again, very few would be happier than myself to see the Leafs in contention and to see a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup again. And I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen, within the very, very near future. And this could be the year that the Leafs do come together and hopefully do us proud.
Now, the Edmonton Oilers, it's been a little strange start to the year because we played the preseason. Then we went over to play a final preseason game in Cologne, Germany. It was Draisaitl versus Draisaitl, Leon versus his dad, who was coaching the Cologne Sharks. We won that game in overtime. Played our first regular season game in Sweden, and New Jersey took us to the woodshed. It was an embarrassing game, to say the least. Here's hoping that tonight the Oilers are playing the Bruins in Boston. The game is better. Now, on the football front in the NFL, monster game for Harold's team, the Patriots. Patriots playing the Chiefs. And Harold, is that a Sunday night game?
It certainly is.
That is going to be exciting to watch. Sunday night, Patriots and the Chiefs, two of the best teams in the AFC. My Packers are playing the Monday night game against not a very good San Francisco team after they lost Garoppolo. The Packers had just a stinker of a game against Detroit, so here's hoping that the Packers can rebound. One of the things that we love is sports. Never know what tomorrow brings, right, Harold? When in the sports world.
You better believe it. You better believe it. But all in all, again, looking for things to be exciting in the hockey arena this year. Hopefully, again, the Leafs, my Leafs can do well. And we're very excited about our blockchain. Again, second week of November, we should be starting our auctions. So any clients out there that are looking to sell some diamonds, please contact myself or Jonathan, and we'll make arrangements for you to ship your diamonds down here so we can film them, get them up on the site, and start making some money for you. So very excited. I wish everybody a wonderful weekend and a very profitable day.
Connect with Harold at rarecoloreddiamonds.com, 1-800-432-1022, 1-800-432-1022, rarecoloreddiamonds.com. That's it, another edition of the World Financial Report podcast. For Harold Siegel, my name is Randy Marshall. We will talk to you next week.